starting to paint with watercolor and learning from me, I always talk about waking up the watercolor paint. So these, since the paint dries hard, it's, the pigment has gone down from the top of the paint. And so if you just barely skim that surface and don't wake it up first, you're not going to have the amount of pigment that you'd really like to have. And so what I say is put that, wake that color up. This is the first color we're going to use. And I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to put that brush down and pick it up. Now, I say that over and over and over again when you're learning to paint with me.
I'm still learning that.
Because what we want to do is we want to come over here and we want to fill in. And that's because we grew up using crayons and that's the way we would put color down. But if you do this, put the color down and pick it up, put the color down and pick it up, what you do is you don't mess in what you've just done. But if you go back and forth, you're constantly going to be disturbing what you've just painted. And so now then I want that to dry. I know that didn't cover the whole area that I kind of sketched in, or I might be thinking, I really want that to be a different shape. Whatever it is, I do not go back into my wet paint. One of the reasons is that it's very disturbing to your paper. It doesn't matter what kind of paper you have. If you're going to be rubbing it with a brush or adding more water, all you've done is disturb what's going on in your painting. And so you have to, for the best case, you want to let that paint dry. And so now then I am going to take that same yellow and I am going to create some petals with this. Now to do that, I need to have quite a bit of paint here. If I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 paint flowers, which I don't have to have all the same color or anything like that. But in this case, I want to be teaching this to you all too. So I've got quite a bit of paint here on the tray. I've got my brush very wet because I've been opening up the waterways as I've been mixing water with this paint color here. So I'm going to dry my brush off. I want to start over again. I didn't clean my brush, but I dried it off. I just got the excess water off of it. So now then I can come in here and get that color and I can put that brush down and I can make a brush stroke that's very intentional. And those brush strokes can be changed all I want. It does not have to be just exactly the way I want it. Again, I'm not going to go back into those brush strokes. And I may end up wanting a lot more bristles, but I'm not going to go in and do anything more than what I've done there because I'll be disturbing. Now I can go back and get more color and more paint anytime I want, anytime I need to. And so that's the beginning of my painting.
Kathleen, may I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
I noticed as you're making your petals, some you start at the tip and work your way to the cone, and others you start at the cone and work your way to the tip. Are you deciding ahead of time, or you're just letting your creativity
go? Right. Are you familiar with toll painting that they've taught, or Chinese brush strokes?
Oh, no.
Okay, so either one, the process would be for either one of those forms of painting is to pick up the exact color that you want, and then you lay it down a certain way to create the shape and everything that you want. And then you leave that alone and you go back and you add to that, but every single thing is creating the shape that you want.
How do you spell that? Toll paint, Toll?
Yes, but I think they actually call it something different now.
I've heard of toll painting. I just didn't know what it was.
Uh-huh. The and so you would paint on wood. I mean, there were lots and lots of different things. And when you're painting a painting, like this, we have a lot of opportunity to change what is there. Now, my method of doing the black lines and having all the white background has been developed because of those years of painting on the bus. And, I did not have what it took to paint real wet on the bus. It was whatever I could create with the water brush was as wet as my paintings ever were. But I found out that it was an exceptional way for people to really learn control of watercolor paint. And so now then we have these flowers. We have a lot we can decide here. I'm painting on, this is real smooth mixed media paper that is not 100% cotton. It can't take a lot of, now I was usually painting with very, very good paint when I was on the bus. So now then I'm going to come in here with my paint is dry. So I can begin to build a little bit with this, build this painting a little bit. So I'm going to wipe the brush and I'm going to come over here and pick up my brown, which this is a color that wakes up very quickly. All of the pigment comes to the top very quickly. And I am going to come in here and I'm going to we're going to just pretend like these are seeds in our coneflower. And so we're not really pretending. I'm responding to my research. When I went out there and looked at flowers, I am responding. If I saw a photograph that had three, somebody had done a painting of three, like you saw when you liked that painting, Shannon, that I had done, if you had gone and painted it, it may have been something like this. But I'm telling you, replace that word copy with respond. We live in a world that if you copy another artist's music without giving them credit, they will take your video down on Facebook, on YouTube. If you copy, so copy is not what we want to do. We want to go find, like when we're regarding with music, we want to go someplace and pay for royalty-free music for the background that reminds us of, or, has, maybe it's, an old tune that's available, but go look for it in those places. But still, you've responded to that inspiration, to that, the happy feeling that it made you have, or whatever like that. And my watercolor paint will, because I waited for this to dry, will sit right on top of this yellow without any problem at all. And so I am going to kind of bring in some green. And this is Serpentine Genuine, which is a Daniel Smith Primatech color. And what that means is it's made from a mineral, which is what most colors were made from. When I first started painting in watercolor, the quality of that paint that I used when I was a kid was rather amazing most of the time. Most of the time I had access to that really high quality paint. So what I'm going to do is every sunflower, every flower, there's a lot of green in it that we kind of lose sight of because we're looking at the petals or we're looking at the seed, and we're going to say, you know, the seed is brown or the seed is, but when you're watercolor painting, you kind of want to bring in that opportunity for that variation. And so I've done that by just having those dots in there. And I always tell everybody, don't judge your painting by what it looks like between your nose and the end of your brush. You have to hold that painting out at the end of your arm, because all art is designed to be viewed 3 to 6 feet away. And the end of your arm is usually about 3 feet. I mean, you can go get the yardstick and see how far I'm right or wrong, and whatever it is, it's probably going to be just fine at the end of your arm. So now then I'm going to pick up this green and I'm going to come over here in this brown, and I'm going to mix them together for just a minute. And I'm going to add a little bit more of that color into my, and that's, you know, kind of muddy looking. It's not, it needs to dry before you can pass judgment on that. But it was a little more moisture, and it lets all of those things kind of melt into each other. It's a lot more interesting. And we need to leave it alone and let it do its thing, because it's not finished yet, because there's water there and it's not dry. Now I'm going to clean my palette. You know, everybody has the option to do it however they want to, but I learned from professionals, and I am going to do what they did because it was the best practices for that that standard of excellence that I really had an opportunity to learn, and I have so much respect for. So now then I'm going to come in here in so I'm going to come in here with my orange, and I'm going to get my permanent orange, which is, again, it's a Daniel Smith color and just absolutely wonderful to work with. And I'm going to get some more yellow, and I'm going to put it next to it. Now, I could mix those colors together, but I don't want a solid color. I want 2 bright colors next to each other to, okay, I'm going to put my brush down and I'm going to pull it, the yellow, over into the orange. And again, I'm going to lay that brush down, and I'm going to lay that brush down. I'm not making sure that I go anywhere. I'm just kind of going on top of that, and not, but again, we don't have any idea what that flower is going to look like until it's dry. And y'all, it's 10:13, and I hope, I mean, I told you this was until 10, but I don't want to keep you. I mean, I want to keep going, but I don't want to keep you if you need to go. So and Linda, I'm not going to get into any repeat designs today at all. So but it was, I mean, thank you for joining me. Do you have any questions that because that was the biggest reason why I wanted us to get together. So
no, I'm enjoying watching.
Okay, good.
I just caught you at the last minute, and I thought, oh my goodness, I bet I hope I didn't get to see anything. So I'm enjoying this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, so now then our flowers need their, you know, this is kind of settling with each other. I call it, there's lots of things that are going on in that little bit of painting that I have in there. now then I'm going to take that and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a stem, and they're all very different. And I always tell people, don't try to go from here to here with a straight line. What you want to do is broken lines. And the eye is going to read it as a straight line, or it's going to read it as connected. And that's really and truly all we really want. And so I'm going to take this. This is quinacridone burnt orange, which is probably my very, very favorite color on my palette. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to take my carbazole violet, which is, you know, capable of being so, so dark. And I'm going to mix those two together. And I'll bet you anything that, now that may not have as much pigment in it as I need, but Shannon, I would be willing to venture that those were the two colors I mixed together to get that really, really dark brown that you saw in, you know, that painting that you, and so just, you know, really kind of seeing it again. And do y'all see the, so now I'm using the end of my brush and I'm kind of just being a little bit painterly about that. And then I am going to, I'm going to do something else with the permanent orange. I've cleaned my brush here. I'm going to come right into the color, which is where the pigment is. And I am going to join some of these petals in, you know, just let it really be connected to the, and I'm just being really loose here, and that's exactly what I want to be. It's not, you know, a perfect, but now then, and if this was better paper, this would go differently. Actually, I want a little bit more green on here. So we're going to come in there and do, and I have a favorite way of doing leaves that just let you be real. So, you know, this, we've got a garden growing here. We don't have to have everything completely connected or explained. We're doing a painting, which can be so much fun if you don't set out a whole lot of rules for yourself. You know, this is what I wanted to do, and that's where it went. And now then, there's not a whole lot of color on here, but if I take this water right now and I spray this, this is going to have a lot of blending and a lot of things going on. You see that brown that kind of went up there, and the, you know, all of the variations that we got. Now then, we need to let that dry, because now I want to go back in with my black lines into this, and I'm going to give it a little more just green to work with, and add a little bit here where I've got so much water. And I love the way the colors are mixing with each other. And but this just kind of gives you permission to keep playing, you know, with that, with what happened with that water. And that's what you need, is to just keep playing. This does not have, has no intention of being a masterpiece. You know, though many of these paintings have turned out to be really, really special over the years. Shannon, you used the statement that it was I don't know, maybe June, when I said that I still have all those paintings, you know, it's like being your baby.
Yeah.
I'm so attached in my memory to some paintings that I've done. You know, whether I have them or not is not, that's not the point. What is the point was the memory I have of doing them and how they looked in the end. And I promise you that the more you try to make them perfect, the less likely they're going to be one of those paintings. And I mean, June, you could probably tell me your favorite painting you painted with me.
Oh gosh, well, the first one was daisies, but I really loved the blue bonnets and the longhorns. Those were just so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were both busy and active and a lot of things going on. So now then that needs to dry.